Hi, and welcome to your Dharma Dish of the Week. I have always considered coming to my yoga mat as one of the most defining moments of my life. I look back and I refer to my life as life before yoga and life after I found the practice, because it appears completely different. And for a long time, I viewed the practice this way, that the moment I stepped onto my mat, my life completely changed, that the clouds parted and heaven shined down upon me, and suddenly my life that was going in this direction was rerouted to a whole new direction. Thankfully, that new direction was one that I preferred to go in. You see, I found yoga at a time when I was struggling in ways probably every 20-year-old girl struggles in. It's a part of human development, but then also in ways that I would hope no one at any age would ever have to struggle in that way. When I look back and I can pinpoint that everything that I was feeling and experiencing and facing at that time in my life, the self-doubt, the insecurity, the mistrust in life itself, fear, anxiety, all of those things I would categorize as a manifestation of disconnection. I was disconnected from myself and disconnected with the moment at hand. And my life was clearly reflecting this lack of congruency and integration. I wasn't fully participating in my life from an authentic, truthful place. And no wonder I was depressed. No wonder I was sad, and that I felt like something essential was missing, because let's be honest, there was something essential missing. And so there I was traveling down a path that I felt like was leading nowhere, at least nowhere any one of us would consciously want to go in. And then voila, I found yoga, or maybe it found me. And I stepped onto my mat, and from that moment, things began to change. So as I mentioned, I used to think yoga changed the trajectory of my life, but that's not exactly or entirely true. And that's one of the points of this week's teaching, that yoga itself won't change your life. Sorry, I'm giving it to you straight and transparent. Yoga itself will not change your life. As my teacher once said, handstand isn't going to make you a nicer, happier person. I remember I was assisting him in a training, and when he said this, the whole class went quiet, and I could tell that they were thinking the same thing I was thinking, which is, where is he going with this one? But he was right on, as he always is. Handstand, or yoga for that matter, isn't going to make you a nicer, happier person. But the journey towards handstand, that absolutely will. And that journey, or the practice of little by little, again and again, staying with the ups and the downs, the try-overs and the try-agains, the tumbles, the confusion, the insight, the clarity, the commitment, the laughter, the presence, the patience, I could keep going, the acceptance, the surrender, the choice to stay the path, even when it's not easy, the journey towards yourself, because that's really what we're talking about right now. The journey towards yourself, that will absolutely change your life. And most likely, it'll make you a nicer, happier person who may or may not be able to do handstand in the middle of the room. One of my favorite professors says that if there was one goal of yoga, one goal, it would be to love the life you live. Wow, and I just love that. And I feel it's so true and applicable to the life of those of us who are modern day yogis. We're not trying to levitate or bilocate or like do all these crazy things. That the goal of yoga is to love the life we live. And I'm not talking about magically manifesting a life that is everything that me, myself, and I could ever want. I'm rolling my eyes at that. That's another class. But to love the life you live today. And the point is, yoga isn't a pill that we swallow that suddenly makes everything better. It actually demands and commands our participation, especially if you want any degree of change in your life. So yoga creates opportunities. Here it is. Yoga creates opportunities along the path to change our thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, beliefs, and our actions, so that we can choose to align these things, our thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, and actions, to participate in life in such a way that it is in alignment with our authenticity and the truth hidden within the temple of our hearts. And yoga presents us an opportunity to reconnect with ourselves on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. So this week, let's make the most out of these opportunities that yoga presents us so that the metaphorical journey towards handstand, or any part of the practice for that matter, changes our life so that we can start loving the life we live today. So how do we do this? We make the most out of the opportunities that yoga presents us. Okay, so I've been really thinking about what this boils down to, and it's one's ability to pivot. A very yogic term, right? Google says that to pivot is one's ability to completely change the way one does something. And that's exactly what we need, right? To pivot away from the automatic reaction, the same shitty thought that we have day in and day out, the perception or the belief that leaves us anxious or depressed, or this is a big one, uninspired. To pivot away from disconnection, that's what all that is, towards connection with ourselves, with our hearts, and with our truth. An example I can give you right now, very simple, but shows up in my life on a day-to-day basis, is when having my little one at home, my son. When he doesn't sleep, when he refuses to nap, and when he's cranky and teething, and the list goes on, and there's a moment, and every day this moment presents itself to me, that I am overwhelmed. And I've been using this moment as a sign that I'm disconnected and it's time for me to pivot. And instead of allowing the laundry list of all the things that went wrong to smother me, I pivot towards my heart and I remember what is important and meaningful to me. And suddenly things change. Because yoga teaches us that we absolutely have a choice in moments like that to pivot away from the habitual patterns, the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, the perceptions that leave us feeling and allow us to turn towards what's true. So in that moment, the pivot may be towards acceptance, towards understanding, towards you fill in the blank, but it is always a turning towards oneself. And that's what changed my life 15 years ago and every step along the way. Yoga granted me permission and opportunities to touch into my heart, to listen to my truth, and to stand tall on the ground of my being. And all those fears and anxieties and sadness and illusions that I came to the mat with all those years ago slowly started to fall and melt away. And as I, day by day, recovered the connection to myself, I woke up one day, however many years later, and my whole life was different. Yoga's beautiful opportunities it presented to me gave me the ability to reconnect to who I was, and that completely changed my life. So this studio is built on the teaching that we absolutely have the ability to pick ourselves out of the rut of where we're in and place ourselves in a new way, a way that is more authentic, true, and in alignment with the depths of our heart. And one of the easiest ways to do this pivot is to remember what is meaningful to you. Is it meaningful for me to have harmony in my relationship, or do I want to win and be right? Choice is yours. What is meaningful to you? Do I want to pound this tray of cookies? And sometimes yes, or do I want to eat to feel my best physically, mentally, and emotionally today? Do I want to skip the yoga mat, the meditation cushion, my run, the gym? Or do I want to care for my mind and my body so that I am full of vitality and can fully participate in my life? It all comes down to what is meaningful to you. And this is the question we ask ourselves to pivot. We pivot towards meaning and towards our deepest self, our true self. And it all comes down to these small opportunities on a daily basis to pivot, to choose connection over disconnection, to choose what matters over what we think should be, to choose understanding instead of judgment, to remember the big picture of what is meaningful to you. And these small changes on a daily basis end up completely changing our lives, little by little, again and again. Yoga grants us the opportunity to pivot away from the grind and towards our groove, away from what we've always done, thought, said, and towards our deepest heart and the truth that abides there. And that moment of seeing clearly, of tasting the sweetness of the innermost heart, the blinding beauty of the truth staring back at us, the revelation that guess what, right now I can choose something different for myself and my life right here, right now, this very moment. All of those things are moments when yoga spontaneously arises in our life, and what's there? Connection. And that connection to ourselves, to our lives, to what lies beyond, below, within, above it all. This is when we can live a life worth living, and dare I say, to love the life we live today.